The state of Arkansas, right? It's a landlocked state right in the middle of the country of the United States of America. And you can see it's surrounded by 6 neighboring states. We've got Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. And the geological properties of Arkansas's border is really interesting. If you look closely, you can see that if you're in Arkansas, you can be in a position somewhere in the state where you can travel directly south from where you are and you will end up in all of the neighboring states. That might be a bit confusing, but I'll show you what I mean. So if you're in the middle of Arkansas and you go directly down, you'll end up in Louisiana. Makes sense, right? If you're slightly east, then you'll go into Mississippi, and same with Tennessee. You can go from just here, you can go from one of these towns over here, Manila, which is interesting, and you will end up in Tennessee. Now you can also, if you're in the far west, go from this point here, travel south into Texas. Texarkana, interesting city, is on the border of both of those. So that's 4 of them. But what about the other 2? We've got Oklahoma and Missouri. Oklahoma kind of makes sense because it's west of it, but it has this border that slightly goes on an angle. That means that if you're up in the very northwest corner, somewhere up here in one of these towns, you can go south into Oklahoma, as you can see just here. So you can go from Siloam Springs and end up in Watts Community or Westville, and you're going directly south, but you're going into the neighboring state. And finally, the last one is the one above, which doesn't really make sense because you can travel south, but because of the weird Arkansas border, you can see here that there's this point right here where Missouri actually drops into Arkansas. So you could be standing, let's see, is there a town here in Piggott, Arkansas, and then Missouri's up the top here, but if you go down here directly south through fields, mind you, you can actually drop into Missouri, into Kennett or something like that, where there's this tiny part here. It's not really that tiny, there's a few towns, but you can drop into the North State, which is really interesting. This is due to the fact that they wanted to follow the borders along the river. It's a weird sort of situation with the border disputes where they have land wanting to be the straight lines, the colonial lines, but at the same time they want to follow rivers and such, because there's no rivers along here, so they just drew a straight line. But I find that really fascinating. And you can see, if you just go on a map of Arkansas right here, you can see all of them. So the south just here, south very top, and then obviously the other ones that are actually south. I just find that very fascinating. But if you like these kind of videos, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.